And welcome back. This is Alden Antonucci with another Extreme Power Hour, and I've got a good friend of mine here, Rudy, that was attacked by a grizzly bear here locally in Big Sky, Montana. And without wasting time, Rudy, I just want to get straight into it. Everyone is definitely just standing behind you, wanting to know more about your story. We've been super excited to have you on, so really appreciate you coming out here. And I think we all want to I'm going to kind of narrate a little bit of this story, just because I don't want to strain Rudy too much trying to speak about this whole event, because obviously a bear did attack him and literally picked him up off the ground and threw him back on the ground and ripped your jaw off. So essentially the story is Rudy rented out to a father and son that just came here to Montana so that they could just go hunting, go camping. And the primary thing that they were doing is they were bow hunting, correct?
Yep.
And they were bow hunting up on a hill. They had wounded a deer.
A nice buck, yeah.
A nice buck, and obviously it was the son's first buck, so they really wanted to find the buck.
I don't know if it was his first buck, but it was his first time in Montana hunting with his dad.
Yeah. And so this is something that they really wanted to find.
Yeah.
And obviously they let you know, and you said, you know what, I'm a good tracker, I'm going to go there, I'm going to help you out. You eventually found your way close to them, and you found your first bear. You shot a warning shot.
Oh.
Now, what ended up happening when you found the first bear?
I just pulled out my gun and I was on swivel looking, because he took off like a shot.
Okay.
As soon as he saw or heard me, I barely caught a glimpse of him, and he was gone that quick.
Right. So you found the first bear, and then now you know that maybe mama bear around, or there's some other bear that potentially could be around, so you're on your guard. You finally found the father and son team, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys kind of created a strategy, let's go find this buck, and maybe let's track it. So you go down the hill kind of in a ravine, where all three of you are spaced out kind of evenly so you can see each other.
Right.
You basically came upon a bear that you didn't even know at that time. That bear saw you before you saw it. And then it basically, at that point, it's here about 10, 15 feet away. And then you finally see it. You grab your gun to go shoot the bear, and that bear is already on you and went right for your face, correct?
Well, I stretched over a log and looked to see where the father was, and that's when I saw the bear coming at me.
Wow.
And there was dead hole between me and him, and I already had my gun in my hand, and all I had time to do was hold up my gun and fire a shot, and he was on me. And unfortunately, my safety feature is putting a dead bullet in there, so the first shot's a dead shot, and unfortunately that's where it still was, and so I missed hard.
Yeah.
And then he was on me. And I remember his nose was as big as my fist.
Wow.
And I got a bite there and a bite there, just two holes. I'm assuming that's when I took a swing at his nose that he got me there. And then he took me out by the chin. And I could see the father running towards me, and that's how I know that I was up in the air. I wasn't down on the ground, because I was looking at trees, not brush. I could see the father coming running towards me. And then I said, help me. And then the bear bit down harder and bit through my jaw. And I assumed when he broke my jaw, I fell, because he lost his grip and everything else just ripped through. The next part I don't remember, that he stepped on my chest. He didn't really scratched me a whole lot. I got claw marks on my chest.
Mm-hmm.
But he was heavy enough that he collapsed my lung, just by standing on my chest with my
Do you want to
claw.
kind of show people kind of your marks?
So there's where he got me on the chest.
Yeah.
And my way to eat, that's how I eat.
That's how you eat.
That's how I eat.
Yeah.
And this one here, that's where they got my jawbone.
That's right here, huh?
So that's not a deer injury, that's how they made my jawbone. That one right there, that's my chin right there. That's where they got the skin for my chin. And then while I was standing on my chest, he bit my leg.
Wow.
And that one was the one that was bleeding the most.
So to give the audience a better idea, Rudy is no short guy. You're over 6 feet tall.
6'2".
6'2", and he's thinking the bear was a couple feet taller than he was, just at the angle that the bear literally grabbed him, stood him up, and he is hanging out of a bear's mouth. So the bear could be between 7 to 8 feet tall, and then the bear would probably be about 600-700, maybe even 800-pound bear. And a bear of that age could be probably maybe between 8 and 12 years old, somewhere in there.
He's in his upper years. Probably the second biggest bear I've seen in my life, and my first bear encounter was when I was 10.
Wow.
So I had a lot of bear encounters and experiences.
That's incredible. And probably the audience is wanting to see maybe like your face. If you could maybe just right in this camera angle there, just so they can kind of see what happened there. So you can just imagine the bear.
So from there up was ripped off.
And Dave, do we have any pictures that can maybe display that? So we're going to kind of
A little graphic.
It's a little graphic, so everyone just know that these pictures are a little explicit when it comes to those details. So the bear's on you. We can't get into the whole story because I imagine reliving that would be crazy. But at the same time, the bear's on you. They end up throwing sticks and rocks at it. The bear ends up taking off.
Yeah.
They even fired one shot at the bear.
He fired a shot out of my gun after the bear took off.
Yep. And so at this point, you're now on the ground. They grab your phone because their phone was dead.
Right.
They called 911. And at this point, 911 dispatches the local search and rescue, which do not arrive there first. A second helicopter actually arrived there first, which is called First Flight, or Life Flight.
Life Flight, yeah.
Life Flight over here. And that's here out of Bozeman.
Belgrade.
And so Life Flight first arrives. They can't even touch down on the ground yet because they gotta wait.
They were told they couldn't land. He saw me down on the ground. I actually met the guys, and he's like, "We still wanted to land because we saw you on the ground."
Yeah.
That
we had to wait for search and rescue.
We didn't have guns. That's why they got there first, because the other crew was arming out and getting everything ready.
Yep.
And it took them longer to get ready than it did First Flight.
Yeah. So search and rescue now shows up. The Life Flight shows up. They are able to put you on a stretcher, correct?
They put me on the board, yeah, the cage.
And obviously there's a lot of details in the middle. But we're going to kind of try to make a quick summary of this. So at this point, you are now on a stretcher, and you thought, oh, I'm going to go for a helicopter ride. But they actually hook a cable now up to your stretcher, and they're dangling you maybe 100 feet down, correct?
I had no idea how far down it
was.
All I know is I was swinging in the air while we were flying to the Yellowstone Club.
So now you're in a helicopter, dangling down on a stretcher, going to the Yellowstone Club, and you stay there for a little while. They give you morphine and drugged you up enough where they brought you to Bozeman that you don't even really remember the Bozeman
last
trip.
Thing I remember was trying to get my keys out of my pocket while they were cutting my leg off to get to these wounds.
And you still can't even find your keys today, correct?
I still don't know where my truck keys are.
Did you find your second pair of keys yet?
I didn't have a second pair. I had to get
a new ignition.
I had to call a guy out.
So at this point now, you're at Bozeman Deaconess Hospital, and they said, hey, you know what? There's not a lot we can do here. We're going to fly you down to Salt Lake City, which obviously you spent there for around 5 weeks. And that's probably where we're going to kind of take it from here. Is now you're at Salt Lake Hospital, where you spent most of your time, did a lot of your surgeries, maybe even like a half dozen surgeries, the surgeries that you even remember, correct?
Yeah, and the Bozeman Hospital did quite a bit, actually. They did the test tube and the drain tubes and the nitracheotomy.
Yeah.
So they got me stable enough that I could go to Utah. They just didn't have the personnel there that specialize in this kind of operation.
So now we're in Utah, and obviously your jaw still hasn't been replaced, correct?
No,
Got
it's basically just hanging. So this is early stages in the ICU. You can kind of see those are my bottom teeth that are broken off in there. That you can see in there. But my whole bottom jaw is just
Ripped off
and hanging down. And
Wow.
They had the metal pieces in there to support it so they could get gauze down in there and tack it, and it would hold it up and get it ready to put back together. This is early in the hospital. I think that's probably my sister and my daughter helping me walk around. I started walking pretty early in the hospital. That was a little later in the hospital. I'd just early gotten out of the ICU, and they had a horse statue outside. They kept telling me you should go outside, fresh air does you good. It was actually 80 stairs to get up and down to this horse statue.
Wow.
So that was my first set of stairs going up and down stairs. This is when I'm back home, and you can still see I got the gauze around my head because I had a thin hole in the bottom of my chin, or a hole in the bottom of my chin that needed to heal before we could continue on. This is where I met Cole Hauser at the liquor store in Belgrade. He was there doing his promotional bottle, and this is where he actually recognized me. He said, "You're the there guy." I said, "Yeah." He's like, "I hear you want me to play you in the movie." And I said, "Yep."
So are you known as the bear guy now? What's your nicknames now?
Kissy Bear is the big nickname.
Kissing Bear. All right. That's
Rudy Kissy Bear Norlander. I actually started signing autographs in the hospital. Rudy Kissy Bear Norlander.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Well, if you're not laughing, you're crying. So I'm really good to hear that you're laughing about this experience, because I mean, any normal person probably would not be here to talk about this experience.
Yeah, we all know I'm not normal.
And what's amazing is we're trying to do this podcast right now this morning, and a lot of people are probably wondering, I mean, how's his life now? And so you were in Salt Lake City for about 5 weeks. Yeah. You couldn't wait to get home, and the day you got home, almost that next day, you started working. Is that about right?
I consider myself starting to work the first week in the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
As soon as I got out of the ICU, I started thinking about what I needed to do, because I didn't know how long I was going to be in the hospital, right, how long I'd be laid out, how quick I could get back to work. And with my youngest son and my youngest daughter, I know they could run the business without me.
Yeah.
But my youngest son's in prison, so at that point, that was one of the high priorities on my list. I think it was day 5 or 7 in the hospital, was seeing what we could do to get a hardship case release for my son in prison, see if we could get him out of prison early.
Yeah. And it sounds like he's almost out of prison. Does that sound about right?
He should have been out in November. They're messing with him.
So he's got a couple months left, and your son will be out, correct?
It's hard to say. They just added 120 days. They're screwing with him up there.
Yeah.
They're really messing with him and don't want him to get an early release.
Yeah.
But that's up to the governor, and hopefully the governor will say yeah, and if the governor says yeah, he can get out, then he's out, and it doesn't matter what they do to him.
Yeah. Yeah. And so a lot of people here are obviously praying for you. I know you set up a GoFundMe account, which obviously we're going to have a link along with this podcast where people can, is it still available? Can people still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually the people that I gave directions on the trail, they actually just donated yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The people that I gave directions on the trail, and thank you.
Maybe do a quick spotlight for your business, because a lot of people know you have a rental business in Big Sky. And what's it called?
Alpine Adventures.
Alpine Adventure. So if you're driving there, on what highway is that called right there?
191.
If you're driving on 191, you'll see it just to the side that says Alpine Adventure.
No, I don't have a shop or anything.
Oh, no shop right there?
No. I need to deal at the Exxon gas station in Big Sky. It's an acre reservation. Yeah.
And what's that number that they can reach you at?
406-580-3812 is the office number.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So if you guys need to and want to, definitely give Rudy a call. I'm sure he would love it. And you can either do a GoFundMe, or you can call him and sponsor his business. And, he's got some awesome UTVs, ATVs. We're in snowmobile season right now. Correct?
Hopefully if we get snow.
If we get some snow, and hey, 6 to 12 inches I hear might be coming this weekend, but who knows?
It better.
Yeah.
We're hurting.
We're hurting.
Well, the Snowmobile Association can't folks on their hooker run that was supposed to be last week because there's not enough snow down low.
Wow. Yeah.
They only groomed once, and they're like, yeah, till we get snow, we're not grooming again.
So I bet a lot of people right now are asking the same question that I'm kind of thinking. You've got the surgery here. The actual piece of skin here is the skin graft from your arm,
From my
correct?
arm, yeah.
And then what's the possibility of your face coming back to look as you were before? What's that look like?
It's not going to look the same,
Yeah.
but they expect me to make a whole recovery. I don't know, what's going to happen with the bottom lip.
Yeah.
Because, that's something totally different than tightening up the skin and closing the mouth up so I don't have the gaff all the time.
Are you thinking about 3 more surgeries, or thinking to kind of build your lower jaw?
Should only be 1 more, because the jaw's all there. We just need the skin graft to close up my left. And I'm going to take it off this arm.
Yeah.
And then once the swelling goes down from that next operation in April, then they'll do the dental work and finish my teeth.
Yeah. And so when it comes down to jaw movement, does this lower jaw move as it was before?
Not as good.
Not as good, but
But
at
it's
least
probably a good thing because I can't open my mouth quite as far. So it did shut me out a little bit.
And so your front teeth here, did the bear get into your front teeth as well?
Yeah. And
Got
you
it.
can see it crack that tooth that broke that one completely off. And
Yeah.
that's a problem for me. I asked them if they were going to fix that tooth because I got a pretty good whistle. And right now, all I can do is call snakes. And that's the one thing they can do with my bottom lip is they can tattoo it on, she said, so it looks like a lip.
Oh, wow.
And I said no, because then my youngest daughter would want me to get more tattoos.
Yeah.
I said, well, maybe a snake tongue coming out of there.
What's interesting to note that you told me before, and obviously there's a lot of details that we're trying to cram in here, is the actual bone that they took out of was it the tibia or fibula?
It's the small bone in my leg.
Right. And so they actually took the small bone completely out of your leg. Then they chopped it down to fit right in here.
Yeah.
And then you've got a piece of titanium.
Some kind of metal.
Some kind of metal right here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That makes my chin.
So you're literally like Iron Man.
Yeah, a little.
So
I don't have
Rudy
the
Kissing
firepower.
Bear, Iron Man. So that's a long title to live up to right there.
I don't recommend kissing the bear.
No. And so, is there any advice, talking to the audience here, that you could give people to be more bear aware?
Well, there's all the same things as, know your country, expect bears anywhere when you're out in the woods. It's like I had a bear told my lunch cooler off my porch when they lived in Big Sky.
Yeah.
So they're everywhere. I almost had a little black bear at one of the condos up top. So it's like they're everywhere, and the grizzlies are the big ones because they haven't been hunted, so they're not afraid of people.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'd like to get involved in, is trying to help get them delisted so they can be hunted.
Mm.
But you just want to be aware.
Be aware.
And if you see signs, I saw the little bear first, and that's what got my senses up, and it's like now your head's on a swivel, you're looking behind you, and you're looking around, and you know, even if you're hiking up there, you want to kind of be looking around and watching, because I've had bears shout at me more than once in my life.
Yeah.
So you want to be aware that usually I tell people you can usually smell them or hear them because they're usually not very stealthy.
Right.
You know, they're turning over logs and rocks when they're out and about. Unless they're actually stalking something and hunting, that's the only time they're quiet.
So would you recommend bear spray or a gun?
I don't like bear spray because if you're doing what I'm doing, you want the wind in your face.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get hit with bear spray and need the blind and him have the advantage.
Yeah.
So I'll take a gun any day or bear spray. I did have both that day, which, you know, people thought I had it, that it was in my backpack, but it was on my belt right next to my gun.
You just didn't have the time.
I didn't have time to do anything. If my gun was in the holster, I probably wouldn't even have got it out.
Yeah. And so in this situation, if you didn't have a misfire, we'd probably just be having a conversation about how the bear basically landed on top of you.
Hopefully.
And died on top of you.
You would look like me instead of me. Because I had him dead to rights.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like their strategy. I told people that my whole life, ever since my guiding days. It's like, I don't want to kill a bear until now. But, you know, I'm going to fire a shot up in the air or in the ground if they're coming at me, just to give them a warning.
Yeah.
And after that, it's point blank right in the head, because if John's hearts and eyeballs start getting hit, then they're going to think twice about whether they want to keep coming or not.
Right. Well, all I can say, Rudy, is that this story is a story of inspiration, and we're really glad to have you here, that we're able to share your story. And the story that is not going to stop here, it's going to continue. And we've talked about before that you're going to actually start maybe telling your story in different areas, in any kind of charitable events. Or is there anything you want to kind of talk about that in the audience? And if they need to get a hold of you, can they get a hold of you to help encourage people and be an inspirational story?
Well, I started going to the media early in the hospital. My family asked me, because the media was on it right away, wanted to know the story.
Yeah.
And I said yes, that I wanted to go public with it. And mostly to help people in my condition. You know, I know things that worked well in the hospital for me and things that didn't.
Yeah.
I know, you know, everybody says how strong I am, inspirational. I'm just too stubborn to die. But I appreciate the support, and I know if I can help somebody lift their spirits, you know, have a better day. I actually met a cop up in Big Sky. He wasn't on call that day, but he was actually laid out at his house with a hurt knee, and he's like, I'm sitting at my house watching TV with a hurt knee, feeling sorry for myself, and your story came on TV, and it's like,
oh,
holy cow, it could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
So, you know, just to help people know that, you know, you can carry on, you can get through hard things, and just keep pushing on. A positive attitude makes a world of difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And so another one of the incidences that you were talking about, how you probably shouldn't even be here, is it took over 2 hours after the bear attacked that you were kind of sitting in kind of a fetal position just so you could breathe, because you did have a collapsed lung of a 600-700 pound bear that literally stepped on your chest, correct?
I basically, the only comfortable position was basically laying on my stomach with my arms under me to keep my head out of the dirt.
Wow.
I got tired at one point that I hold my backpack over to me, which I still don't know where that is either. And I laid my head on my backpack because I was having a hard time keeping my head up.
Yeah.
And that's when I heard the first helicopter, and I told the guys at Life Flight that, you know, that hurt my spirits up. I was kind of draining down at that point, and I heard that helicopter, and it's like, I'm starting to look, and I take my head out, and it gave me a little momentum, and then I was starting to hate again. Then I heard the second helicopter, and then as soon as I heard them land, then it hurt me out a little bit more that
Wow.
I thought I was going to make it now.
Wow. What an inspirational story. What an inspiration. I mean, only God answering your prayers right there. If
I was saying help me to God just as much as I was to the Father and Son.
Right, right.
And according to the doctors, it was less than an eighth of an inch, and even less on the other side. If he would have that much deeper, I wouldn't be here.
And this wasn't bleeding as bad as
my leg.
As your leg, correct?
Right.
And where's that mark, roughly?
Right there.
So literally, if you can't see in the video right now, it's about the size of your thumb. If you could take your thumb and put it right in your leg, and we're assuming that is a bite or a claw mark.
No, that's a lie. He bit right there.
He bit.
Tooth.
Wow. Right there. And that's what you were most worried about.
I knew I was bleeding more out of that hole than my chin.
2 hours laying there on the ground.
Pretty close.
Well, Rudy, it was a pleasure to have you on today. And so if anyone wants to reach out to Rudy, one more time with your phone number.
406-580-3812.
Perfect. And we're going to have a GoFundMe link on this podcast somewhere down below. So feel free to click on there. Feel free to call Rudy. Get a hold of him. If you have an inspirational event, something that you need an inspirational speaker, reach out to Rudy. So it's been amazing having you here. And we want to obviously follow up on your progress. So we'd like to invite you back and keep us updated on these surgeries that you're having. And do you have anything else to tell the audience?
Well, I know that I keep telling my daughter that we probably should up the GoFundMe because it's at 70,000.
Mm-hmm.
But I just got a bill yesterday from someone from the hospital for 53,000.
53,000. Oh my gosh.
The VA hasn't paid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It'll go quick if the VA doesn't step out.
Yeah.
Maybe we could close with, you talked to us before about your faith and how your faith got even more determined through this ordeal.
It did actually. It was like the second day in the hospital, the bishop of my church came down and gave me a blessing, and in the blessing he told me I would grow spiritually from this attack.
Wow.
And I told him as soon as he got done with the prayer, I said, as long as I can assume I'll get a calling when I get back home. And he's like, we'll see. And I think it was the next night I had a very vivid dream about taking the next step up to spirituality.
Right.
And getting on that next spiritual plane. And it basically told me that, I'm ready for the next level. And then I had another dream that said, my life is planned out for me, that Alpine Adventures has me Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday I'm going to probably be doing church devotionals and firesides. And then Monday I'll probably designate for TV interviews and radio interviews. And, if Joe Rogan's watching or any of those
there you
guys,
go.
You want me on, I'll be on.
Yeah.
Steve Harvey, give me a call.
We'll reach out to him. Send him a link. Say, here you go. Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's such an inspirational story, especially on the spirituality, because I think we're all on the same page that, we're all here to grow, not only physically and have a mortal body, but this is a spiritual war and a spiritual fight as well. And
it's spiritual school.
It's spiritual school, that's right.
And we're learning every day, and hopefully we're getting better every day.
A spiritual boot camp, right?
Yep.
And sometimes you could even get your jaw ripped off.
Well, I was told in one of my visions that this was an answer to my prayers.
There we go.
So
that's very inspirational.
It's like, well, okay then.
Yeah.
I'll live with it. Let's carry on.
Well, everybody, thanks for watching here with Alden Antonucci and Rudy Norlander. And it's Norlander, correct?
Noorlander.
Noorlander. And so Stay tuned for next time. Alden Antonucci with Extreme Power Hour.